Hey!
What's up?
Yeah, this is the day.
It's the last one?
No, it's not the last one. It's the former last one. We'll have more. But this is Friday, and we do have the TLF, and we do have it with the, I would say, last spec to be analyzed.
Let's roll.
Analyzed. Healers.
Healers in M+ is what we're going to be taking a look at today. And of course, as always, a short disclaimer. All of the healers are basically doing 28s and higher. It's just that some of them are just like sprinkled in here and there in the top like 300 healers, because we've looked at the top 300 healers, while the more meta ones are, you know, pretty much used more around. But in terms of functionality, they can all do it, so it's pretty fine. But we are going to look at the representation at the high level and see exactly which ones are, you know, played the most, maybe have the best results, you know, stuff like that.
We have to rank them somehow, and underlining once again, did you hear that? All the healer specs can do plus 28s, no problemo. So don't you even worry about it. We're ranking up from that point up, okay? Now, what else do we have to rank up? There's something else.
There's something about gaming in general.
We love games.
If you love games like we do, and you might love something other than World of Warcraft, you should definitely check GameBase, which is our second channel. It's all about the gaming culture. We have game reviews, first impressions, documentary series, topics addressed that go beyond gaming, but also within the gaming realm kind of thing.
Yeah, everything related to gaming we're trying to do on GameBase. It's a fairly new channel.
We got
Pokemon, we have Age of Empires, we have the
Far Cry,
Dead by Daylight, a lot of good stuff over there. It's basically whatever we play and touch on games outside of World of Warcraft, we go into there. And there's a lot more to it coming as well. It's still in its early stages, so all the support it can get, and liking and subscribing and commenting on those things. If you're interested, of course, that helps a lot. So after you watch the video, go to the description and check the link on GameBase, more than gaming culture. Is that a motto? Fuck that. Nah, that ain't a motto, but you know who is a motto in all of the game in Shadowlands? Discipline Priest, man. Let's start it off with Discipline Priest, because you know Discipline Priest, man, that's a beauty of a spec. I love it. I love it.
Discipline Priest is still pretty good. It's very like in the top couple of hundreds. I think the first Discipline Priest that I saw was maybe Mod, which, I mean, it's probably the king Discipline Priest in M+ right now, but very, very few and far in between are currently played at a very top ranking. I mean, they're good, but I feel like their damage kind of dropped since BFA, so and that kind of matters at the high keys.
This is the thing.
I know you don't like to deal damage when you're doing keys, but if you're going to be pushing like plus 28s, 29s, 30s.
Yes.
No. Every little bit actually matters to get that timing right, and I'm not sure necessarily the damage is holding Discipline Priest back.
It could be, but it's weird that if that would be the argument, because Discipline Priest is like, you know, the healer damage. So this is the thing. I don't mind dealing damage as a healer, but I said this before. I hate that we got into a meta right now where everything revolves around big ass damage as a healer. It shouldn't be a requirement. It should be something that you should do when you have the window to do it and not be stressed out.
Kind of like Holy Priest, and Holy Priest, we'll get to that eventually, but Holy Priest does that without actually impacting healing, and unfortunately it does more than this. So
ain't that a bitch?
So right now,
this is the thing, right? It's A tier, right?
It's actually B tier.
It's B tier, okay.
Because
it dropped because it used to be A tier.
We had it A tier, but the thing is, it's just like a couple of other healers became really, really meta, and we're gonna go into them as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, everything is good about Discipline, but it's just like just below there. It's just not quite there.
Oh man. Okay, now let's get to the, I would say, the biggest surprise out of all these healers, the Holy Paladin, which I did not expect Holy Paladins to do so good.
I mean, yeah, because you know what? Bookings are bad in single target. Let's talk about Holy Paladins, because they were the talk of the show for about a year or so, up until recently.
Yeah.
Right now they kind of dropped, but they didn't really drop. Okay, so they're A tier right now, and we had an S tier last time, but it wasn't because they're bad. It's just because at the very high end, especially now that people are doing 30s and 31s, the tank healer combination actually matters.
Oh yeah.
And some healers are better with some other tanks, and just because a specific tank is S tier and is clearing the highest keys, that tank does not really work with Holy Paladin. And the Holy Paladin is just probably played just as much as the S tier spec, but it's just not doing like the very high keys. Like if you look at the top 10 keys cleared, they're all without Holy Paladin. Then you have like one Holy Paladin team, then another set of S tier healer. I'm not gonna spoil it for you.
Holy Paladin used to be S tier, used to be the dominant spec previously, but as you will see, there are a couple of interesting, I would say, turnarounds for some different specs that have taken different spots. Regardless, we're talking about all the healer specs here. Granted, Flame mentioned, talking about 30s and 31s. I mean, this is the highest you can get, right? So
I think Blizzard mentioned back in BFA that they never wanted us to do plus 30s. And because that's when they buffed.
Come on, man.
They buffed Mythic dungeons and bosses because they thought that we were doing keys too high of a key. And obviously, they probably don't think the same now because we've been in the 30 range for like a few months.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where we are right now, and that goes into the next healer. Not really, but we do have Holy Priest, and we have to talk about it as well. Because Holy Priest, I mean, depending on what the covenant you play, is really good. It's kind of like tied with Discipline. I'm not sure which one is better because some of the
at the high end,
it's played almost as much as Discipline. Maybe the higher of the two healers is Discipline, but not by too much. So they're both in B tier. They could just as well be equal. Holy Priest, where Discipline has like a lot of damage reduction, Holy Priest just has a fucking lot of throughput. And
no, this is the thing. We mentioned earlier, Holy Priest can still do damage, but it isn't, I would say, as the core of a mechanic as it is with Discipline. With Discipline, there's a lot of situations where you have to like make, through your rotation, you deal damage as well. Holy Priest gets that option there. It has, I would say,
actually nice in that regard.
Yeah, but it also has, I do believe it has a bigger throughput overall.
It does.
And the damage is not lacking. Now, once again, I have to stress this. I kind of hate talking about damage within healers. We mentioned it earlier. We don't really like this meta we're in, but it is a differentiator.
It's part of
the high keys.
It's part and parcel with the type of content that we're doing when we're timed, when we need to clear a timer.
Yeah.
Anything that can speed up the
buff DPS, man. Buff DPS.
I think the only real thing that can change this, where healers don't feel like they need to deal damage, is if they get into their toolkit a way to buff other people's damage, like PI, like Power Infusion, which a lot of people don't like. But by having PI, you make healers that don't do as much damage or don't have dealing damage as part of their toolkit more viable as well. So hopefully, maybe we can see that later, and we'll take away some of this. Oh, I need to deal damage to kill cream mentality.
Yeah, or just buff DPS and it's fine. Okay, let's move along to Mistweaver Monks, which, man, I was really hoping Mistweaver Monks would take like a bigger spot on the top of the
they are probably the kings of throughput. We mentioned that Holy Priest has a lot of throughput, but it's probably Mistweaver who has the most, especially now that they're playing Venthyr. I'm not sure if they're playing Venthyr in the highest of keys, but with the Venthyr and the Venthyr Legendary, the monks that you summon just heal for like a crap ton, man. Yeah,
then it's also another example where you can definitely see, the mechanics being built in to deal damage and heal, like, with all of the fist weaving and stuff. It's, it's part of that fantasy, but again, when it comes to, in comparison to other healers, like a Holy Paladin, or even Discipline Priest, the throughput in damage isn't always there. Granted, probably the biggest throughput on healing. One other thing that is probably making a big differentiator in high keys is the fact that monks don't really have like super big defensive tools. They have the biggest throughput, but
they have Cocoon, which is kind of good for tanks, but some of the top tanks don't really need individual
you need that more
defensives.
Of that area, like a dome from the priest.
That would be good, but kind of monk, it compensates that with a lot of throughput, so maybe that's their their thought process, which is kind of what's keeping it into B tier now. I don't know,
better than Holy Priest though, right?
I mean,
they're kind of over there.
They're all
the positioning here is not really that important. They're kind of in the same
They're just
category.
as much played as each other, so it's just a little sprinkles here in the top couple of hundreds players, but it is clearing, I think, 28s, 29s, and possibly even higher as well.
Plus, we have to say that formally, when we did our previous quote-unquote meta tier list for healers, the Mistweaver was D tier, really bad.
We have a
kind of up.
We have a tendency of, trying to spread them out as much as possible to showcase differences in specs.
Yeah.
But it just turns out that when it comes to the B tier class, there's not very many differences that you can, point out.
Yeah, they're very, very just number of keys, number of people playing the specs and stuff, very, very similar. So it's hard to just deconstruct them over there. So all these bad boys are in B tier. Okay, now Resto Druid.
Something that actually didn't change that much. Last time we had it in C tier, and I think it's still C tier to this day. Yeah. Nothing really changed for Resto Druid, not in the meta and not in its toolkit. After the mastery nerf in BFA, that proved to be pretty much crucial when it comes to the peak of the peak of the peak of the peak of performance for healers, where that kind of kept Resto Druid on the top of the meta, because baseline, the kit is probably the best one designed for dungeons, where you maximize a lot of 5 men, like a small group of people being healed at a time very efficiently. And that's what initially let Resto Druid do damage, cat weaving, probably now with boomkin weaving and stuff like that.
Yeah, but this is the thing. Even that being said, you mentioned a big point. Resto Druid had the easiest time, I would say, quote unquote, easiest time back in the day, because knowing how to play Resto Druid and prepping up all of your hots, yes, would allow you to just you would know when a situation would occur that big damage comes in, and you would prep up, and then during that time everybody would be safe because powerful hots would be ticking in, and then you could go into your cat weaving or owl weaving or whatever and be a part of that dealing damage meta for healers. Nowadays it's a little bit different because it is a bit more panicky. The heals, I wouldn't say they're not strong, but they're definitely not as strong as previously, prior to the nerf to the mastery.
It's not just...
And also the damage isn't like it used to be. There used to be a thing back in the day where Resto Druids would cat weave a lot.
That was the funnest time I've played Resto Druid. And again, that's another point of how you can make dealing damage fun, because it's not, you don't need to deal damage to heal. So Resto Druid and Holy Priest, despite them being a little bit lower on the list, they have the damage component built in pretty nicely, where you're not obligated to do it, but it does help if you do it.
Definitely. Now let's go to the last restoration.
I wonder where this will go.
Listen, guys, we have a spot here in D tier, and we have a spot here in S tier. Where do you think the Resto Shaman is going? Okay, I'll leave you. Give him a couple of seconds. You can comment right now. Comment where the Resto Shaman is going. Few comments later. All right, let's not keep everybody. So if you put it in S tier, you were right.
And you win.
This is the new
our appreciation.
And that's very important in your life, okay?
But this is what I was talking about, because right now the top tank in Mythic Plus is Prot Paladin. And Prot Paladin just synergizes really, really, really well with Resto Druid. Their defensive cooldowns are really on point, because Prot Paladin is just a block of tankiness that's rotating Ardent Defender and all of that. And then you have Resto Shaman coming in with Spirit Link Totem to help everybody else. Prot Paladin is most of the time going to be very high on HP, so that works out with Spirit Link as well.
Oh yeah.
You have obviously all the utility from Resto Shaman. You can have the Earthgrass Totem, which is the AoE route for specific dungeons as well. Plus, one of the most important things that not a lot of people know about, which is something cool. You can check Wowhead's Lincoln's article on Prot Paladin, which kind of explains the necessity of a Resto Shaman, is that their dispels cover everything in the game that you need to dispel. As a tank, as a healer, they have no holes in their dispels. All of the curses, magic, poisons, diseases, all of them are covered by these two classes, which is really good, and that makes their synergy even better. So that's one of the main reasons why Resto Shaman is in S tier, not because it's better than Holy Paladin, it's just that it matches better with the top tank, better than Holy Paladin. And you can look at Raider.io, and in the top
where we got the data from, Raider.io.
And if you look at the top comps that cleared, whenever there's no Prot Paladin in the group, you'll see a Holy Paladin as the healer, because you have the Devotioner and all that good stuff. But that's kind of why this is the way it is. It's not because one of them is stronger or not. It's just the synergy is just better.
Yeah. If the top tank is a Prot Paladin, you will definitely see the healer that matches up perfectly with it, and that would not be a Holy Paladin necessarily, but rather a Resto Shaman. But I did wanted to ask, because I wasn't really always clear on this. How are Resto Shamans dealing with the damage requirement component? Because I've seen some Resto Shamans with that legendary what's it called? The one with the elemental thing?
Yeah,
where they do a lot of
I don't
AoE?
know. It was some stone, hearthstone. It doesn't matter. Your Earth Elemental has a permanent.
How are they doing in terms of like damage? Because are they like comparing?
They're
to
actually
Holy
doing
Paladins?
pretty good. They're actually doing pretty good because they could run that as well, which is a little bit wonky because the Earth Elemental doesn't really survive for a very long time. So I'm not sure exactly how they can make that efficient at the very high end of keys, because if it actually pulls aggro, then it probably dies in like less than 3 seconds, the elemental. I mean, we've seen this
at the high level,
we've seen this in like our 17s, 18s, it barely lasts like 10 seconds.
Yeah. But still good fucking damage.
What's probably putting a lot of a pump into Resto Shaman right now is also Kyrian, because a lot of them are running with the Vesper Totem and the Vesper Totem Legendary, and that's just pumping, man.
Yes.
It pumps a lot, so that really also helps. So
definitely. Now, this is the thing. It definitely looks different, because you remember people saying, man, nothing is going to change and stop doing those tier lists. This looks very different than what we had last time.
3 swapperoos that we see.
I think
Resto Druid is the only one
who kept this
Resto
position.
and Holy Priest, I think, are the only ones that are still the same as our. We can put our old tier list on the screen right now so you can see the changes are not big, but considering that we're in the same season, it kind of means something, and it's kind of fun to see how clearing higher content kind of changes what you want to bring to the table without, having any buffs or nerfs to them. So that's kind of nice, where you can get your class to match the kind of content that you do. And
you know who else matches content that you do? Our Patreons, baby, because they support all of this content that we do here, and without them, for sure, they wouldn't have been most of this content available and possible. And trust me when I say this, you guys who support us on Patreon are basically the biggest motivation in weird times doing YouTube stuff. So, one more time, what are Patreon supporting? First off, the class guides, the TLFs on Fridays, the On Cooldown WoW News Show. Granted, we do that when there's actually shit to talk about, news and stuff. The MO Cast podcast, which is on a different channel. We can go check that out if you're into World of Warcraft podcast, of course. And starting from next year, we shall be getting into those intros. The intros from the class guides? Well, we'll start doing like full-on videos to test the water, see how that is. That requires a lot of time.
That's pretty good. And obviously with all the new changes and after the holidays, we're going to have more projects coming up for you guys as well. So thank you very much for supporting. And if you, dear viewer, want to support us a little bit more, and if you want to see maybe what this is all about, check all the tiers with all the rewards that you might be able to be interested in, because it might be something for you. You don't know, it's not required, but it does help out. Check the link down below, and we'll see you there. Yeah, and we'll see you soon again, because this is not the TLF that's closing out the year. We're going to have another special TLF that's going to come out on the 31st. That's going to be so good. That's going to be, we're going to have to like tease it a little bit. That's going to be a TLF based on the best class in World of Warcraft for 2021. Okay, so don't miss that out. It's going to be a big one. We're going to look into all the things. And that being said, we plugged enough. Thank you for watching. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, or anything you celebrate. All right? Cool. Take care. Bye. Happy New Year.
I've been loving it then, I still love it now. Still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. Getting better every day, let me show you how. Cause still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. It's getting harder to stay, but at the end of the day, it's a guilty pleasure, so just log in and play. Whether it's classic or retail, I'ma do a /bow. Still, I play WoW.